Hello, I'm Catherine Sines, the president of the Rotary Club of Hudson. Rotary is a professional organization of a group of men and women who support Rotary International. We also join together by a common interest of service to our Hudson community, and we have a sincere desire to give back. We meet weekly on Wednesdays at Laurel Lake Retirement Community, 200 Laurel Lake Drive, in their dining room. We meet from 7:30 to 8:30 and would like to invite you to join us. For more information about Rotary, go to www.rotaryhudson.org. Enjoy the following excerpts from one of our recent meetings and consider joining us on Wednesday morning.
Good morning, Rotarians and guests.
Good morning, Ron.
Welcome to the Rotary Club of Hudson. I'm Ron Strobel, the Sergeant at Arms. Our invocation this morning is by Joe Boisel, Father Joe Boisel. Sorry.
Barely Reverend. Pray with me as we gather together this morning and remember that just passing Independence Day, this prayer for our country. Almighty God, who has given us this good land for our heritage, we humbly beseech Thee that we may always prove ourselves a people mindful of Thy favor and glad to do Thy will. Bless our land with honorable industry, sound learning, and pure manners. Save us from violence, discord, and confusion, from pride and arrogance, and from every evil way. Defend our liberties and fashion into one unified people the multitudes brought hither out of many kindreds and tongues. Endue with Thy spirit of wisdom those to whom in Thy name we entrust the authority of government, that there may be justice and peace at home, and that through obedience to Thy law we may show forth Thy praise among the nations of the earth. In time of prosperity, fill our hearts with thankfulness, and in the day of trouble, suffer not our trust in Thee to fail. All which we ask through Your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. And to lead us in the pledge and four-way test this morning, Lynn Fitzgibbons.
What do you do first, the pledge? Good morning, everybody. Let's start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Make sure that you're looking at the flag. Hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next, we're going to do the pledge, the four-way test. First.
Is it true?
Second.
Is it fair to all concerned?
Third.
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Fourth.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lynn. That's one more step on the way to getting rid of the red badge. And lead us in song, Chris Barker.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chris.
All right, today we're going to sing your grand old flag.
How about that?
Ready? You're a grand old flag, you're a high-flying flag, and forever in peace may you wave. You're the emblem of the land I love, the home of the free and the brave. Every heart beats true, meet the red, white, and blue, where there's never a boast or brag. Should old acquaintance be forgot, keep your eye on the grand old flag.
Thank you, Chris. I think, Nick, we need to practice that one line. We always stumble on that.
I know.
And now our president, Evan McCauley.
Good morning, fellow Rotarians.
Good morning.
Thank you, Ron. And we'll kick things off. We have one guest this morning and introduce the guest, Chris Barker.
Good morning again, Rotarians. I'd like to introduce our guest, Lee McCauley, here to see his son do his first meeting as president of our esteemed club.
And then I do have one announcement. If anyone was not able to make it to our annual dinner, past President Catherine Sines has gift bags for everyone. So please, pick yours up at the end of today's meeting. So did you want to do an introduction, or did you want your dad to come up to talk at all? It's
No pressure.
no pressure. Oh, well, thank you for joining us, Lee.
Thanks to Lee McCauley. I think I'm standing in front of you today on a number of reasons. He was always my Rotary mentor, bringing me here at an early age. So thanks for being here and supporting me. Rich, I think we need to add him to the prospect list. So we can follow up with an application. We had an amazing annual dinner that Gail Royster put together. Thank you to Gail Royster. And thank you to Catherine Sines for doing an amazing job with that event. And you and your administration did an excellent job last year. So thank you very much for the work that you've done, Catherine. All right, we've got a lot of exciting items on the agenda, and we've got a board meeting following this meeting. All of you are welcome to join us for that meeting. And there's a lot of awesome opportunities that our club has right now, and I very much look forward to presenting those to you in the future. We're going to have a strategic planning meeting coming up at the beginning of August, and that'll be during this regular meeting, and we'll have an opportunity to hear from all of our club leaders about the different projects that we're going to be taking on and completing this year. In lieu of timing, we have a couple projects that are getting underway right now, and one of those coming up is a big project for our club. That's Art on the Green, and Bob Cramp has a couple of words on that event.
Should not have sat back in the corner. Good morning, Rotary fans. Art on the Green is coming up, and it is, I need to tell you what that is because we have a lot of new members this year, so I thought I would go through a little bit on what Art on the Green is all about. And every year, Art on the Green is held by the City of Hudson, and art, it is a display of all types of art with the pictures, photos, jewelry, ceramics, and so forth. And that there are about 100 booths that are set up. And we are one of the booths. That we are not doing art, but we are doing food. And the food is hot dogs, brats, and beverages. So in order to make that happen, we need you to be involved. And I know most of you know everything I just said, but there are a few new people who may want to get involved this year. So I have this sign-up sheet today. The Art on the Green is on the August 25th and 26th, which is obviously a Saturday and a Sunday. And I'll pass this around. Now there's going to be one major change this year, and I'm phasing out of doing Art on the Green, and Pat Scherer, one of our new members, is going to be taking my place, along with John Adams is going to be working with him as well. So I'll be working on it, but Pat will be taking over and getting totally involved. I told him, he's sitting at my table today, and I said I was going to just transition today. Just get up and hand him the sheet and say, see ya. But so anyhow, do you have any questions about the event that I can answer for you? Any new people that have any questions? If you do have questions, don't want to ask them now, see me afterwards. So I'm going to start this around, and you can begin signing up. No, if you're not sure yet, because of I'm just springing the date on you right now. You need to go home, check your calendar and so forth. Just do that, and I won't be here next week, but Pat Shearer will be here, and he'll have the sign-up sheet. So, thank you.
Thank you, Bob. And this is one thing that I've noticed that is a reason that we do excellent at this fundraiser. We're one of the only vendors that sells bottles of water out at Art on the Green. And typically it's 85 degrees and sunny on that Saturday and Sunday. So sign up, come out. Everyone loves to come by and get hot dogs and water. It's a great opportunity to be out in the community for a couple of hours. Pat Shearer is really getting involved here, and he's got he's part of both our upcoming events. One thing that we're celebrating this year is the 100-year anniversary of Boy Scout Troop 321, and our club is the sponsor of that troop. So we're trying to get a little more involved and make sure that we understand what the Scouts are doing, they understand what Rotary's doing, and that we can explore opportunities to work together. So Pat, do you want to come up for just a moment and talk a little bit about what we've got coming up?
So it's not very often that a Scout troop has a 100-year anniversary. So that's something that should our club should be proud that we're the chartered sponsor for Troop 321. So on August 4th, we're going to be having a picnic at the Scout cabin on the park there with our club and Troop 321. Just a nice informal way for Rotarians to have an opportunity to meet some of the Scouts and some of the leaders that are running Troop 321, and for the Scouts to have an opportunity to interact with their Rotarians. So it's beneficial for both of our organizations to have that opportunity to spend some time together and also share a little bit of food. So there's a sign-up tablet going around it's working its way around the room. So if you'd sign up for that, we'll have that event on August 4th down at the Scout cabin. If you have any other questions, we're doing some final planning on that tonight with the troop. So I should have more information for you next week.
Thank you, Pat. Pat, hey, don't go too far. Come here.
I've already got two.
No, come on back up. And Lynn Fitzgibbons, if you could come on up also and join us. And David Schweihofer, if you could come up and join us for a moment. We've got a little gift for each of you. So, as you know, these three individuals have been with us for quite some time. They all have their red badges on. They're all getting involved in projects, and we've got some nice gold badges that we'd like to present to them and get rid of those red badges. And the ultimate reason that we need to do this is because we've got such a big pipeline of prospective members, and we need to recycle these red badges.
So in other words, we didn't do it. You just want the red badge back.
As long as they think we did.
Right? All right.
You emailed that to me yesterday, right?
Oh.
How do you pronounce it?
So,
Can we go now?
yes. Thank you very much. Continue to do great. Couple of other updates here. James, do you want to bring up our new YouTube page? So our programs have historically been available on Hudson Community Television, which is great. It's a schedule-based program. They do have some videos that they've uploaded, but what we have now is an amazing resource. We have a YouTube channel, the Rotary of Hudson YouTube channel, and that's going to feature all of our weekly broadcasts and other fun meeting videos. One subscriber. James, is that you?
So, the subscriber is Rotary of Hudson. Yeah, so it's actually, I'm the one who signed up, but it's actually, I'll give you the information.
That's perfect.
But you
And
don't have to be a subscriber to YouTube in order to go in and view the videos.
Did you include the link on your email?
yes, so the link is on the email. I'll continue to put that link on my emails so that you have access to that. And feel free to share this with friends, family members, others in the community. If we do have an awesome presentation like we're going to have this morning from Nicole, feel free to share that with somebody that might be interested. It's a great way for us to be dynamic and to have all of our great meetings and speakers visible to the public.
Just a note, so when you go to the site, you see it says Rotary of Hudson. There's various ways to get there. And you'll see it says home and videos and playlists and so forth. What you want to do is click on where it says videos. You're looking like, wow, there's only like 4 videos up here. So you click on videos, and there's all the videos. And I'm not quite sure what order they're in, but the newer ones are at the bottom. So if you want to see a recent one, you just scroll down. Oh, sort by, there we go, sort by. Just one easy step.
Thank you, Liz.
Okay, so
That's
anyway,
why you're leading the charge on the website.
There we go.
I'll link to the website also for the other speakers.
Okay, so it's always good to try something new while you're doing the presentation. Anyway, so I just sorted by. I'm not quite sure what I sorted by, but but anyway, so there is a way to sort it, and or you can just scroll all the way down, and there's more and more. You'll see the videos will just keep loading up. But anyway, these go back pretty far, and in fact, I have CDs that go even farther back. All I have to do is. All the computers today don't have that format, so I just have to get a drive that I can put them. So we'll start loading some of the really old ones, but it's great. So they usually start off, there's like a little rotary video that starts it. You can skip through that video and go right to the meeting if you want. And you can even advance it to any point in the meeting that you want to do it.
That's awesome. Thank you very much for putting that together. I mean, that's Rotary leading this type of access to our meetings. So let's keep running the charge there. Couple other district-related updates. There's an End Polio Now Indians game tomorrow night. It's too late to sign up, but our club has, I think, 9 individuals that are going to that. So we'll be walking around Progressive Field and enjoying some Rotary social time. On Thursday, July 19th, there's a district awards and banner exchange where the new district governor, Beverly Gens-Krasinski, will be inducted formally. So that's up in Cleveland, Windows on the River. It's a Thursday evening. I'll be attending, and I welcome each of you to join me. So again, that's July 19th coming up. Please let me know if you'd like to join me. One other exciting calendar item for the district is a Browns fundraiser, and this is on September 9th during the game on Sunday. And what you do, you go up there and you sell 50-50 tickets, and it's an amazing way to experience the game, and it's an amazing way to experience Clevelanders. I mean, it's crazy how much money people spend on 50-50 raffle tickets, and everybody loves buying them. So it's fun to get out there and raise some money. More information will continue to flow on that, but let me know if you're interested or if you'd like to learn more about the Browns fundraisers that are available. Last item that I wanted to mention, I mentioned this briefly at our annual meeting. I had the pleasure of attending the Rotary International Convention in Toronto just about 2 weeks ago, and that was an incredible experience. There were about 35,000 people there, I think. I mean, I can't imagine trying to plan a convention for that amount of people, but it was amazing. The Prime Minister of Canada spoke, Laura Bush spoke, industry leaders, the president of Rotary International. It was a great opportunity to engage with Rotary as a whole organization and to really understand what the mission is, where their direction is going. So thank you to the club for sponsoring that, and I look forward to building out some of those best practices into the work that we're doing at our club. That concludes my announcements for the morning, except for one more. There's an opportunity that is spread out on the tables, and that's for the Salvation Army. You can go join and volunteer, and again, read about it in those brochures. There's contact information in there, and let's see if we can, take advantage of that volunteer opportunity. Without further ado, I'd like to call up Joe Avella to get our presentation going this morning.
Thank you, Evan. And before we talk about our presentation, just a little update on Youth Exchange. Lucas DeCarly, our exchange student, left the United States on Sunday at about 5 p.m. He arrived in Brazil at 11 a.m. the following morning and was met by 15 of his family members and friends at the airport. So I think he was missed, and he has a whole schedule this week of lunches and dinners and parties with family and friends. So he had a great year, and he appreciated all that we've done for him. You know that we have a wealth of arts and culture venues in the greater Cleveland area, and we've all been to many of them. There was a study I found last night that was done a couple years ago that looked at per capita attendance at cultural venues, and Cleveland ranked, the greater Cleveland area ranked on par with San Francisco and Boston for per capita attendance. Nobody ranks, it's like 88% of New York City, but nobody ranks New York City. But we were ahead of places like Chicago and Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. So we have a very wealth of arts and culture venues. So it's appropriate that we take July and take a look at some of those organizations. Next week we will hear from Terry Pontremoli, who is the executive director of the Tri-C Jazz Fest, which just completed its 39th Jazz Festival last weekend. And the following week we will hear from Mark Masuka, the CEO of the Akron Art Museum. But today we're pleased to present Nicole Mullet. Nicole is the director of Arts Now in Akron. She was elected, named the executive director in July 2015. Prior to that, she worked at the University of Akron in the office of the dean. In addition to her work with Arts Now, Nicole serves as the immediate past president of Torchbearers, and Torchbearers is a leadership development organization that's affiliated with Leadership Akron. She's also on the board of the Gay Community Endowment Fund. In 2014, she was the recipient of the Women of the Year Women to Watch Award for the Summit County Historical Society. She was instrumental in development and implementation of Connect to Akron and launching Intern Edge in conjunction with the Torchbearers and with Leadership Akron. And the Akron Chamber of Commerce selected Nicole as one of their top 30 for recipients in the year 2014. So please extend a warm Rotary welcome to Nicole Mullet. Thank you.
Sorry, I don't travel light. Thank you so much for having me today. I was telling Joe I don't travel light, so I apologize, but I have my notes on my screen here, so we're going to do multiple things with technology this morning. Nicole Mullet, I'm the Executive Director of Arts Now. I have to tell you what a pleasure it is to be here, and thank you so much. And I have to give a shout out to Joe and thank him. This has been the most seamless and organized speaking engagement I've ever been invited to, and I'm very, very grateful. You have a very well-run Rotary here, and I'm thrilled to be here. Terrified that I'm being videoed, but thrilled. Joe did not mention that. It's the only thing we're going to have beef about, Joe. We're going to talk about that later. We're fighting. Yeah, I get very nervous already when I'm speaking, and now there's like a blinking red dot in front of me. So we'll see how it goes. All right. What we're here to talk about today is arts and culture in Summit County, and I want to take you through the inception of Arts Now. I want to talk a little bit about how and why we became an entity in Summit County, and I'm going to walk you through that assessment that was done, and then I want to talk a little bit about how you can become engaged if you aren't already in arts and culture, and why you should want to be engaged. And then I would like to hear from you, and I'm going to ask you to ask only mildly challenging questions and save your really difficult questions for Mark Masaoka at the end of the month. Please tell him that I gave you permission to do that. Now, pointing at the computer, right? Do you think if I pointed the laser at that, it would turn it off? No. All right. And in an effort to not overwhelm you with words, I've tried to go with some pictures for you to look at this morning. Hopefully so that you will not look at me. Well, you're all very nice. You're intimidating. In 2013, there was a landscape assessment that was conducted by the GAR and the Knight Foundation. Both of these funders have been investing heavily in arts and culture in Summit County for a number of years, and their goal was to determine whether or not those investments have been realized. So because we are a room full of very intelligent people, we know that a leading indicator of economic prosperity is a space that has a robust arts and culture sector. And our funders wanted to make sure that they were investing in the right things in the right ways and take a kind of a baseline assessment of where we were in the county. So I'm going to walk you through the 9 key findings that came out of that assessment. There were more, and it's on the website, artsnow.org. It is a very aesthetically pleasing piece of document to read, which of course it would be because we are the arts, and so we would at least make our reports attractive. But I'm walking you through 10 key findings. Most Summit County residents were satisfied with their arts and culture life. This did not notably apply to African Americans or young people. The younger professionals in the area felt like the arts and culture weren't paying attention to them. They didn't necessarily know what was going on, and they didn't feel as though they were for them. Number 2, there is a disconnect between arts and culture's perception of itself and the public's perception, and I think we can all probably relate to that on some level. 63% of arts and culture see the sector as somewhat strong and vital versus key stakeholders who mostly saw it as challenged from a funding standpoint. Providers of arts and culture saw offerings as deep and varied, but the market didn't necessarily agree. And that's one of the things that was special about this assessment, was that instead of only looking and asking people who are working in the sector, we asked people who wanted to participate in the sector or were patrons or weren't, and we wanted to know why. So there was a definite disconnect between the perception and the reality. Number 3, as a sector, arts and culture organizations were not on strong financial ground, and they didn't at that time regularly analyze their businesses. There was a 22% decline in revenue with only a 0.9% population decline between 2007 and 2011, and 19 out of the 31 organizations that were assessed countywide had negative growth during that time period. So we knew that money was going to be a concern and resources. Number 4, fund development at the highest level was an opportunity for the sector. The business community felt as though the arts and culture sector only came to them when they needed money for an annual gala or fundraiser, and that there was no ongoing relationship where the sector was doing a really good job of saying why you should invest and what that benefit to the community was. Number 5, has anyone been to the Piggery in Barberton? Do you guys get out to? It just makes me happy that there's some place in Summit County called the Piggery. It used to house pigs, but now it houses art and events, and it's a really lovely space. But Little things make me happy. Communication with consumers is an opportunity. Many consumers of the arts said that they didn't know what was happening in their own backyard. And this was, keep in mind, a time that after Cuyahoga County had passed their public funding for the arts, they were doing a wonderful job of telling the story of arts and culture in Cuyahoga County, and folks were very comfortable driving north. They didn't realize what was happening in their own backyard, which was unfortunate because in Summit County, at the time of the assessment, there were over 600 working artists and arts organizations operating in the county, which really is a critical mass of creativity. It's something kind of special that we have in our community, but folks just didn't know that that was there. 6 was that there's no real arts and culture sector in Summit County. Our social service agencies and our communities do a wonderful job of coming together. We've seen that with the heroin epidemic and opiates, where many different organizations can come together to address a complex system. At this time, our community wasn't seeing that from the arts and culture sector. They didn't feel as though the sector was raising their hand to address areas of need, which we would have been positioned to do. So talking about talent attraction and retention, economic vitality, walkable communities where people want to live, work, and play. They didn't see the sector coming together as a whole and operating to address those needs. We're getting to good news though, guys, don't worry. 7, support for new funding initiatives could be cultivated, but it would take leadership and time. So at the time that the assessment was conducted, when we went to our business and civic leaders and said, who do you know that is leading in the arts and culture sector? They named the immediate past president of the Akron Art Museum and a woman who had retired 3 years prior. So we really needed to make sure that our leadership of these community organizations were seen as being part of the community. Number 9 was there was no perceived problem, so there was no sense of urgency. People felt like this was okay, things were okay, and we know that sometimes when you have that sense of urgency, it leads to change. And you see that in Detroit. There's so much creativity happening right now, but it took a bottoming out, and that isn't something we've experienced in Summit County. So there wasn't a sense of, panic or need to make changes. So at the end of this time, the foundations came together, really led by Christine Mayer and the GAR Foundation, and said that we need, in the same way that other communities have, an organization that is going to wake up every day thinking about the health of the sector as a whole. So we're not going to worry about only an institution. We're going to wake up and look at this complex system that is the arts and culture sector in Summit County, and we're going to determine how we can leverage it to make life better, more livable, more exciting for the residents in Summit County, as well as for people who might want to come into Summit County to spend some of their money, which we love. One of the first ways that we did that was through launching SummitLive365.com. Has anyone been on this website? It's okay if you haven't. You're all going to go after this. SummitLive365 is a one-stop shop for arts and culture in Summit County. So if you are bored and looking for something to do, my biggest pet peeve, as I'm sure it is with you, is when people say, well, there's nothing to do here. There's too much to do here. On any given night, you can have some kind of experience relative to arts and culture in the community. For example, this weekend, you can go learn how bats communicate with each other through the national park and actually get to use their technology to track the bats flying out of the caves. I don't know if anyone wants to do that. I do not, but I am interested in one of you doing it and then reporting back to all of us. So Summit Live 365 was created to address that communication need that was stated in the assessment, which said people didn't know what was going on here and people couldn't find it. So the website, when you go onto it, has all of the events that are happening, but what became really exciting to me as a nerd is that there is a directory aspect. So essentially what we're doing through this website is building a cultural index for Summit County. So you can go in and see individual artist profiles. You can go in and look up all of the nonprofit organizations, all of the galleries, anything that you could imagine, and then sort it to be able to find what things are happening. And it's free to use. So if you have an artist in your family, a musician who's interested in playing out, or you have someone who owns or operates some sort of cultural or artistic business, this is a place where they can go, and we will help promote them because we know that it benefits the entire community to do so. One of the things that I always like to talk about is that many times when we think about arts and culture, people think that giving to, supporting, patronizing the arts is like a nice thing to do. Oh, well, I give because it's a nice thing to do. It's actually a very smart, strategic thing to do. If you think about the communities where you want to go visit, where your kids want to live, increasingly people are choosing their place before they're choosing their job. And those places have a very robust arts and culture scene. They have walkable communities. They have what we have in the incredible resource that are our park system, our national park. I've lived many places. This is something that is unique to us that we don't often sell, we don't talk about because it's become so commonplace. But what we have is something pretty special, and that's something that we should be boasting about. And so arts do mean business. The creative businesses supported 290,000 jobs and contributed $41 billion to Ohio's economy in 2017. This is Ace Epps. If you ever are in need of a spoken word poet or just a really good speaker who will make you feel like you too can become an artist. I am not an artist. I was very nervous during the singing. I was like, what if they hear me and then they ask me to leave? But Ace is a wonderful person and who does oh, this is my fault. I think I missed him. There he goes. So Ace here is performing with Nepali applause. He was DJing while we had some Nepalese dancers performing. Compared to 2015, the arts are now supporting 50,000 more jobs and 10 billion, with a B, more in economic activity in Ohio. These are numbers that were recently released by Ohio Arts Council. So we know that this means work. We know that it's generating economic activity in our communities. But we also know that it's going to bring people in. So cultural tourism is defined broadly as anyone who's traveling more than 50 miles to access an arts or culture experience. So if you're going to the national park and you live more than 50 miles away, that's kind of what they're defining this as. According to 2013 report, 76% of all U.S. leisure travelers engage in cultural activities. The size of that market is 129.6 million adults that are spending $171 billion annually. So this is something we very much want and need in Summit County for our businesses and for our communities. We want people to come in and spend their money here. The U.S. cultural traveler spends 60% more, approximately $1,319 per trip, with $820 for domestic, as opposed to $820 for domestic travelers. So they're staying within that 50-mile range. The cultural traveler also takes more trips than general travelers. So this is everything from sales tax, business sustainability, job creation to promote and keep people coming. But it's also enhancing our quality of life for the residents who live here every day, right? And this number always amazes me. Our national park, 2.2 million visitors annually. It's absolutely incredible what we have here. We shouldn't overlook what's in our own backyard. This is for my friend here. So I hail from a background of education. I'm a recovering English teacher. I used to make people, I was the terrible one who would make you memorize poetry because I believed it was good for your brain and your soul. So I was that person in the classroom. I was a terror. But I do think it's important to just give a couple facts relative to education, in no small part because I know that Hudson believes in that very strongly, and it's someplace I point to when I'm traveling around the county because I do feel like you get it when it comes to the need for arts education in our communities and our schools. A student involved in the arts is 4 times more likely to be recognized for academic achievement. Students with high arts participation and low socioeconomic status have a 4% dropout rate, 5 times lower than their socioeconomic status peers. Students who take 4 years of art and music classes average almost 100 points higher on their SAT scores. Low-income students who are highly engaged in the arts are twice as likely to graduate college, not high school, college, as their peers with no arts education. And 72% of business leaders say that creativity is the #1 skill they are asking for when hiring. And especially this last one, we are training our kids for jobs that do not exist yet. Right? We don't know what jobs in 20 years are going to look like. What we can give them is the ability to think critically and to problem solve and to be creative in those solutions. And we desperately need them to be there because increasingly we're talking about complex problems for which there are going to be creative solutions. The arts help train our students in that way. So thank you for your commitment to making sure that the arts remain in our schools, and I encourage you to continue that battle cry because we can never take our eye off that particular ball. Also, I'm terrible at sports. Was that a decent sports reference? I have 3 brothers who did an appallingly bad job of teaching me anything about sports or how to play euchre. Every time they tried, they ended up yelling at me and we'd get in a fight and I'd go upstairs. Moving us forward, so I want to talk a very little bit because I want to be respectful of our time and leave time for questions and answers. Why and how can you partner with arts and culture? So we've talked about where we are as a county or where we were in 2013. I'm thrilled to say we've been making some substantial steps as a sector, coming together, rallying around issues such as access, making sure that our cultural institutions are welcoming places for everyone, making sure that young people have access and feel comfortable in these spaces, that they realize that they are for them. We still have room to grow, especially relative to financial health of our institutions, which is something we're going to be taking a look at in the next year. So if you ever invite me back, please hold me accountable to give you a report out in that, if Joe lets me come back. I still haven't decided if I'm forgiving you for this video camera, so we might not. So we want to talk a little bit about what can you do about it, because it is not something, in the same way that you look at education or any of these other complex systems, it's not healthy for any of us to sit back and say that's someone else's problem. Because even if it's a small thing, there are ways that we can contribute to the health of our community. So let's talk a little bit about that. Did you know Barberton has an arts and culture district? You should go check it out. They now also have a rooftop wine bar, which is of special interest to me and absolutely delightful. Why should you care about this? Recruiting talent. Employees want to live and work in a vibrant community. So when you're partnering with theaters and musicians and artists on an individual level, you're helping to create the economic structure that's going to allow them to stay here, because we want talent to remain here. We want our kids to remain here. We want University of Akron and Kent State students to find a home here, and we know that place is very, very important to people. So we want to create a place where people want to live. No one would want their entire lives to be waking up, going to the gym, if you're inclined, I'm not, clearly, and then going to work and coming home. That isn't what we want from a well-rounded life. So we need to provide things that are going to keep people here. The arts help you build market share, enhance your brand, and reach new customers. I always say that there is nothing more fun than putting an artist or a creative in a room full of engineers and watching what they come up with. Also watching the epic battles of will that transpire. But we need creative minds to think about our solutions to complex problems, and we need to think about them when it comes to creatively reaching new audiences and how we're going to engage new generations. This is, if you've never had Howard Parr from Akron Civic Theater, he's another wonderful speaker you should grab. The arts can educate the public and your employees about core business issues, informing them about products or teaching them to make healthy choices. If any of you have a business and you've ever attempted to do some kind of internal training that included only what I'm doing with a PowerPoint and a lot of words, that isn't the very best way to get information across sometimes, and it can start to sound very same. And so what we have in Summit County are some artists who are now learning and teaching in businesses, and they're doing professional development training in our community businesses based on what your needs are. So there's some very creative ways that you can help educate and train. Again, back to the same conversation we had with our kids, Creativity is among the top applied skills that people are looking for. That's going to increase, that's not going to decrease. We need people in our businesses and in our community positions who are going to be solving problems that have yet to be identified, who have a creative way of going about that work. The arts challenge employees to be their best. Whether it's showing off their own creative talent in an art company art show or a battle of the bands or volunteering for local arts groups, the arts lets your employees use their current skills and develop new ones. Embrace diversity and team building. The arts create an environment that blends background, ethnicities, and culture. Through exhibitions, performances, workshops, the arts provide opportunities for employees to grapple with workplace concerns and become more familiar with their coworkers and their colleagues in the next cubicle in the next world. The arts are a great way to say you appreciate your employees. So instead of ordering a trophy off of an anonymous website, why not go to a local art gallery or commission a local artist to make a piece that is unique for you? That's a wonderful way of supporting local business and entrepreneurs and also showing your employees that you care. I'm not a fan of this picture, but there it is. Contribute to the local economy and quality of life. When you partner with local arts, you partner with a whole city. The arts are essential to healthy, vibrant communities. They enhance community development, create jobs, spur urban renewal, attract new businesses. Nationally, the nonprofit arts and culture industry generates $135.2 billion in economic activity every year, 61.1 billion in spending by organizations, and an additional 74.1 billion in events-related spending. So audience members going out to dinner after the event, engaging with the community in other ways. So what I leave you with is two challenges, because recovering teacher. One is I do hope that you will go and check out summitlive365.com. And I hope that you will use that as a way of challenging yourself to engage in a creative experience that you or your family have not done in the past. Right? So I always tell people I'm not an artist, but that does not stop me from attempting to be creative, because regardless, that is good for us. It is good for our souls and our brains, right? So try to push yourself. And if you do not know what you want to do, email me, because my very favorite thing, I have three favorite things. One is Murder, She Wrote. That doesn't apply here. Two is I really, really love helping people find things that they love and that they enjoy that they might not have thought about. So that is fun for me. And then the other, which I told Joe, is coming up with really creative speakers that would do a far better job than I. So I'm in that part, Joe. We aren't fighting to that extent. And I think that, well, it's just on the picture, but it doesn't matter because the last screen was just my contact information. So that is a very hasty overview of your arts and culture sector in Summit County, and I would love any questions that you have, as long as you remember to save the hard ones for Mark. Yes, sir.
Nicole, thank you for coming today. Fascinating talk. You mentioned in your introduction that the study by GAR and the Knight Foundations found that minorities and millennials did not feel connected to the local art scene. What are you doing about that?
Yeah, good question, and a hard one. Dan Rice of the Ohio and Erie Canalway Coalition has a phrase that I have commandeered from him, but I always give him credit, so I've decided it's okay, which is that this work moves at the speed of relationships. So relative to young professionals, I had an easier road given my experience with torchbearers as past president. What that looks like for some of our legacy organizations is going to be a little bit more challenging. What that can't look like relative to the young professionals is saying, we, the symphony, are going to, without a lot of marketing, put up a discount code for young professionals. And then when none of you take advantage of it, we're going to be very upset with you for not taking advantage of this. And we are going to say, see those millennials. They don't care about this type of music. So that authenticity and making sure that our nonprofit boards are actually engaging with young people, that they're sitting on their boards, that they're engaged in their fundraising activities, that they're involved in deciding what programming comes in, is very, very important. Relative to the African American community, this is something that especially in the last 10 months has been very much on my heart and mind. And this is going to continue to move at the speed of relationships. So this is, there is a healthy and vibrant community of Black artists in Summit County. They are making wonderful, extremely high quality art. They are not feeling as though they are a part of the broader system. And what I think we do very badly sometimes is we make a statement of, well, come, you can come sit at our table. Look, we saved you one seat. You can come sit here. But that's where we miss the boat, because there already is a table, and it's a really healthy, important table. And so how we move that forward, I am letting some very smart artists and creatives take the lead in showing us how to do that. But it's very much a partnership, and it's very much an ongoing collaboration. So in 3 years, I haven't fixed anything, but we keep moving forward. Yes, sir.
How did Barberton develop their art community? That looked very interesting to me, because it looks like it's significant.
It is. So that was very much when Mayor Judge took office, that was his priority. And he'll say this, it was a priority with him not totally understanding what it was going to look like, was to have an arts district in Barberton. What they had that was very important were kind of two key things. One was they had an anchor institution. It was at that time called the Art Institute on Tusk, and is now an extension of Summit Art Space. And they had Magical Theater Company that had just undergone a massive revitalization. If you haven't been to Magical Theater Company, find a child so that you can justify going. I steal my nieces all the time. It's absolutely astounding what they've done in that building. So they had anchors that were bringing people in. They did a partnership with NDS, which is a development company that looks at revitalizing housing. And NDS made a commitment to the mayor and to that strip of land that they were going to focus it as an arts district. They brought in a gallery. They are continuing to engage and find ways to have businesses come into spaces that are creatively bent. So they have bookstores, they have art galleries, and they have like craft stores, things like that, makers. But it's still very much one strip, and it's in progress. The other thing that they did relative to the lighting was they partnered with Leadership Akron, who's doing a Barberton Leadership Akron extension program, and that class kind of adopted that project. One more thing, and then I'll stop talking, because I'm worried that, is Joe going to pull me off? Okay. The other thing that they did that is really exciting for me as a former educator is their DECA students, which is a marketing program at Barberton High School, saw this place. They felt like people didn't know about it, and so they developed an entire marketing plan, 3 high school students, that included developing a business association for the arts district. So 3 high school students created a business association that has gone on 2 years after they graduated from high school. They also now have internships at 2 of those places, including the mayor's office, and developed a plan for how we're going to tell people about what's right here in Barberton. So look to your kids. Look to your kids. You certainly have a wealth of talent. Yep.
Actually, to that point, so everything you said about the need for the arts in the school, teaching the whole child and what it does, we're completely on board with that. I'm on the school board here.
Oh, good. I did not know that, but now I'm glad.
Yeah. So we absolutely support what you're talking about. I was wondering, are there specific programs that you have in conjunction with the schools?
So no, we don't. One of the things that we work as an arts council is supporting and advocating for those, but we don't create competing programs. I should have mentioned that. So our job is to support you and school districts as they come alongside. Our job isn't to, I would never create like a tiny orchestra that was going to travel around, because we already have Urban Troubadour that's doing that. So we don't make art, we support those who do. You do have some teachers in Hudson that are really committed to this, and some really interesting possibilities in the pipeline, I think. Is that fair? Okay. Okay, thank you so much for having me. Is someone going to get a picture of them in front of the father-son photo?
We're going to get a picture of you. Get some more pictures of Nicole. Great job, Nicole. Thank you very much. One more round of applause. All right, we're going to do our Rotabuck raffle here. One moment. All right, the payout is $13 and the jackpot is $186. So Nicole, as our guest today.
All right. This is really nerve-wracking.
All right, the last four numbers are 6443. Oh. Stu is the big winner this morning. Wonderful. All right, I trust you. It's in there. Oh, just wait. All right, that was a pretty good way to start the Rotary year. If you see the banner in front of me, if you've missed it, our Rotary theme this year is Be the Inspiration. And Rotary International President Barry Rassin, he's from the Bahamas. He's an awesome guy. I've had the opportunity to meet him, and I'd like to just share with you a quote out of his presidential citation to conclude things today. As Paul Harris put it, Rotary is a microcosm of a world at peace, a model which nations will do well to follow. To me, Rotary is not only a model but an inspiration. It shows us what is possible, inspires us to reach for it, and gives us a path to act and to be the inspiration to the world. So I look forward to having a great year with all of you. There's a board meeting to follow with a lot of great information. So have a great week, and we'll see you next time.